Hey, what's happening, everybody? I realized that I have been dug into my own little cave this morning and forgot that the inauguration was going on. So I probably should have paid a little bit more attention to my market. But I said I was going to do it, so here we go. I have been having a lot of people ask me about mobile massage practices and do I think they're viable and how to set them up. Let me start this out by saying I think anything's viable in the right situation and in the right market. So I think that's a really important message. Also, let me give you my experience with this. So way back in 2000 when I started my practice, actually back in 2003 when I started my practice, but in 2000 when I was practicing, mobile stuff wasn't as hot as it is today. I mean, you didn't have Uber and Lyft and all of those things. Like, people weren't doing mobile stuff. And as an industry, and especially in the place where I was located at, you know, it wasn't the cool trendy thing. As a matter of fact, within the industry locally, you know, if you did mobile massage, you were kind of not really professional because you didn't have an office. So, you know, so I never did a lot of it. But what I can tell you that I did do was I mowed lawns for 3 years. So I have a lot of experience of, you know, being in the truck and driving from account to account. I also merchandised for a beer distributor for 4 years. So again, I was in my car a lot going from account to account. And I can tell you that the days that were really awful were the days that I had a lot of time in between stops. When I was mowing lawns, I was working for a buddy of mine. He was paying me by the hour, so it didn't matter to him. But he tried to, you know, he was really trying to make sure that the accounts that we were seeing were close together. And when I was merchandising, again, I didn't care either because I was getting paid mileage and all the rest of those things. So while I don't have a lot of direct experience with it, if you dig around in my backstory a bit, you'll see that I do have a little bit of experience with going from account to account, both with mowing lawns and with merchandising for the beer distributor. My ex-business partner and former wife, she did do some on-site or in-home massages, and I can tell you that because we did not structure them well, they were not beneficial for us. In the beginning, they were a cash grab, but at the end of the day, we did not structure our pricing well, and it got to be the point where we were actually losing money if she was going to that site. So let's see. Okay, so how would I structure this practice? Well, first of all, like I told you, you know, like you've heard me say a million times, I think that you look at a market niche and you focus on that market niche, and you also pay attention to your demographics and your market demographics, right? You look at, I would get out Zillow, I would get out whatever real estate things that I would do. I would contact a real estate agent, and they might actually be a great source of referrals for you, right? And I would start to look at, you know, upper middle class to, you know, more affluent houses, or middle class to upper middle class, more affluent houses and neighborhoods. You know, look, I mean, as much as I want to help everybody else out, if you're going to be doing this and you're going to make this a sustainable practice, you've got to be able to put food on the table and keep the lights on and all the rest of that stuff. So how I would do that is I would start to map out my territory, and I would make it as close to my house as I possibly could. And I would make sure that the territory that I was in, even if I had 2 or 3 neighborhoods, I would actually set certain days that I was in certain neighborhoods. Just like your lawn guy does, just like someone who cleans houses, just like plumbers do, all the rest of that stuff. Back in Michigan, I knew a guy who did in-home personal training, and this is exactly how he did it. He had it mapped out. So, you know, and again, in the beginning, you just take whoever you can get. But what I would do is I would get really concrete into those areas. An interesting thing thing that you might be able to do is if you get into a place where there's an association and they have a clubhouse, you might actually want to go talk to the person at the clubhouse and see if you couldn't park yourself in there during events that people have, or especially during the summer. If they have a pool, a community pool, park yourself at the community pool during the summer. And obviously if you live in a place where it's warm all the time, then do that a lot. And really try and farm that market and figure out if it's viable. And I wouldn't set up and do it for free either. I would go in and do $1 a minute because you want to test the market and you want to see if people are actually willing to pay for your service. So that's initially how I would set up where I would go practice at, or how I would set that up for myself. The next thing that I would do is, so I would take, if you're there for an hour, here's what I would do. I would take your hour, and I would make sure that you're actually charging your hour and a half price. Let's talk about that for a second as well. If you're charging $60 an hour, you should be charging in either in 15-minute increments or half-hour increments, and that fee should all line up. So if we're charging $60 an hour, your fee should be 15 for 50 minutes. I'm sorry, 15 for 15 minutes, 30 for 30 minutes, 45 for 45 minutes, 60 for 60 minutes, 90 for an hour and a half. So if you're going to go see a client for an hour, then you actually bill that hour and a half price, which would be $90 if we use that standard price. Whatever prices you set is whatever prices you set. But the reason why for this is because very important that we create relationships with our clients. And 15 minutes breakdown and setup is a really important time, to figure that out. So you've got to be able to get in and get out as quickly as you possibly can, but you also don't want to be short and curt and not develop relationships with those clients. So you allow yourself 15 minutes before the session and 15 minutes after the session, plus the hour-long session. That's an hour and a half. If you are close and if you set it up well, then your drive should be, 5-10 minutes. So you schedule the next session, if you're 10 minutes away, maybe you schedule the next session 15 minutes away or a half hour away or whatever you want to do with that to give yourself enough time to get there. But next place you go, and I would say if you're anything more than 10 or 15 minutes away from your next stop, then you need to bump that price up again to a 2-hour time frame, because you want to make sure that you are covering yourself and you're not losing money a ton. Or what you could do is you could add on, I would just use one standard price for your service and not worry about adding, travel costs on. Just throw it one flat price, including your travel costs. So again, if you're 15 minutes away from your next stop, then you might want to actually bill that for 2 hours instead of an hour and a half. Because, you've got to be able to get to your next place as well, and you want to be able to do that safely. So those are some of my thoughts on that. I think that it's really important that you really start to think about it, and also reach out to people in your community. Your people who clean houses, and especially the people who do this on like a little bit more of a private basis. They're not a franchise, because they'll have great insights for you. Do research into those markets. I mean, use your phone. Before I would launch anything, I would do research into the market, and also research the markets to where you're going to go. Let's see, market demographics, we talked about that. We talked about size of territory. We talked about market niche. So, you're after your market niche. Potential referral partners. There's people who are yoga practitioners that go in-house. There are personal trainers that go in-house. Your housekeepers. Like I said, your realtor. Get a realtor under your belt, because they know a lot of people and might be able to help you to spread your network. Last thing I want to talk about is, I've had a couple questions from male massage therapists. Do I think that this is, viable, and can they do it? Yes, I absolutely think that you can do it. It's no different than having someone in your practice, in office. You just got to make sure that you're on your game and you're not doing anything stupid and you're covering your own butt, right? So, and you're also selective with the type of clients that you take on. If you feel anything sketchy with the client, then don't take them on. You know, it doesn't matter the money, because man, if you get one bad, you know, knock on your rep, it's all downhill from there. You know, it's really hard to turn that around. So you've got to really leverage your trust and leverage your reputation. Yeah, so that's it. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out to me and ask me. I'd love to dialogue this more. Hope you all have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see you soon. And remember, practice makes improvement.